Marion Motley was a true hero who faced incredible challenges. As one of the first two African Americans in the NFL, he not only had to deal with intense racism, but also had to prove himself on the field with his exceptional skills. He also served in the military, showing his bravery in a different way. But even then, life continued to be tough for him. He struggled with financial problems, and just when it seemed like things couldn't get any harder, he was diagnosed with cancer, which eventually took his life. But before we tell you all about his struggles, make sure to subscribe. After he finished his football career, Motley hoped to stay involved with the game by becoming a coach. He approached Brown's coach, Paul Brown, about a coaching job, but Brown told him that he should instead look for work in a steel mill, the very kind of job that football had helped him escape. With coaching opportunities in the NFL closed off, Motley took on a job as a whiskey salesman in the early 1960s. He occasionally did some scouting for the Browns, but as the civil rights movement gained momentum in 1965, he publicly stated that the team had repeatedly turned him down for a permanent coaching role. Motley had applied for a coaching position in 1964, only to be told there were no openings. Instead, the Browns hired Bob Nussbaumer as an assistant coach. Motley began to question whether the real reason was racial, wondering if the time wasn't right for a black coach in the NFL. Browns owner Art Modell responded by saying that coaching positions were filled based on skill and experience, not race, and pointed out that the team was scouting at many black schools and had 12 black players signed for the 1965 season. Motley also sought a coaching job with the Washington Redskins when Otto Graham was the head coach there in the late 1960s, but was turned away once again. In 1967, he briefly coached an all-girl professional football team called the Cleveland Daredevils. Unfortunately, the team only managed to play a few exhibition games as efforts to create interest in a women's league struggled. Later in life, Motley worked in various roles, including at the U.S. Postal Service in Cleveland, Harry Miller Excavating in Suffield, Ohio Lottery, and the Ohio Department of Youth Services in Akron. He passed away in 1999, just 22 days after turning 79 from prostate cancer. He was truly born to be an NFL player, but a knee injury caused him great damage. Motley was born in Leesburg, Georgia, but his family moved to Canton, Ohio when he was just 3 years old. Growing up in Canton, he attended elementary and junior high schools there before going to Canton McKinley High School. At McKinley, he really shone on the football and basketball teams. In football, he played as a fullback and helped the McKinley Bulldogs achieve an impressive win-loss record of 25-3 during his time there. The team's only losses came from their fierce rivals, the Massillon Washington High School team, which was coached by the legendary Paul Brown. After graduating from high school, Motley went to South Carolina State College in 1939, which was a historically black school in Orangeburg, South Carolina. However, he transferred to the University of Nevada before his sophomore year. At Nevada, he continued to make a name for himself as a standout fullback, playing from 1941 to 1943. He faced off against some tough West Coast teams, including USF, Santa Clara, and St. Mary's. Unfortunately, in 1943, he suffered a knee injury, which led him to return to Canton and start work after he left school. His professional career was also filled with struggle.
Marion Motley signed with the Cleveland Browns alone.
As World War II heated up, Motley joined the U.S. Navy in 1944 and was sent to the Great Lakes Naval Training Station. There, he played for the Great Lakes Navy Blue Jackets, a military team coached by Paul Brown, who was on an extended leave from his job as head coach at Ohio State University. Motley played both fullback and linebacker for the Blue Jackets, making significant contributions on both offense and defense. One of the highlights of his time was that there was a big 39-7 win over Notre Dame in 1945. Even though Motley was eligible to be discharged before that game, being the final match of the season and the last military game of World War II, he chose to stay and play. His standout performance was partly thanks to Brown's new play design, which was later known as the draw play. After the war, Motley returned to Canton and took a job at a steel mill, planning to go back to Reno in 1946 to finish his college degree. However, that summer, Paul Brown was now coaching a new team in the All-America Football Conference called the Cleveland Browns. Motley reached out to Brown for a tryout, but Brown initially turned him down, saying he already had enough fullbacks. A bit later, Brown invited Bill Willis, another African-American player, to try out. 10 days after Willis, Brown also invited Motley. I think they felt Willis needed a roommate. Motley later said, "I don't think they thought I'd make the team. I'm glad I was able to fool them." Both Motley and Willis made the team and became two two of the first African Americans to play professional football in the modern era. The Los Angeles Rams had signed the only other black players in pro football earlier that year, Kenny Washington and Woody Strode. This was a full 7 months before Jackie Robinson broke baseball's color barrier with the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947. Motley was determined to make the most of this opportunity, understanding it might be his only chance to escape his steel mill job and build a career in football. Motley signed a contract worth $4,500 a year, which would be about $70,300 today. With the Browns, he joined a talented offense led by quarterback Otto Graham, tackle and place kicker Lou Groza, and receivers Dante Lavelli and Max Speedy. Motley was a key player for the team, which dominated the AAFC, winning every championship during the league's 4 years of existence from 1946 to 1949. He had a unique mix of speed and power, weighing in at 238 pounds, which allowed him to break through tackles effectively. He was also skilled at pass blocking and played on defense as a linebacker. In his first season, Motley averaged an impressive 8.2 yards per carry. His specialty was the trap play, where a defensive lineman was intentionally let through to create running space for him. In 1948, he led the league in rushing as the Browns went undefeated with a 15-0 record. By the end of the AAFC's run in 1949, Motley was the league's all-time rushing leader. When the AAFC folded and the Browns joined the National Football League, Motley had rushed for a total of 3,024 yards, and the Browns had an outstanding record of 47-4-3 in regular season games during their AAFC years. Like many black players in the 1940s and 50s, Motley faced racial hostility both on and off the field. Even though Paul Brown, his coach, was determined to not let discrimination affect his team, Motley and his teammate Bill Willis still encountered racism. They were sometimes stepped on and called derogatory names during games, and it was frustrating for them. Motley later reflected, "Sometimes I wanted to just kill some of those guys, and the officials would just stand right there. They'd see those guys stepping on us and hear the insults and just turn their backs." This went on for a few years until the opponents realized the caliber of players Motley and Willis were. At one point, Motley and Willis didn't travel with the team to a game against the Miami Seahawks because they received threatening letters. On another occasion, they were told they weren't welcome at a hotel where the team was staying in Miami. Paul Brown threatened to move the entire team to another hotel, and the management of the original hotel backed down. As attitudes towards race in America began to shift after the war, the country started to reconsider its views with more hope and ambition. Progress was slow and racism persisted, but by 1950, the color barrier in major sports had been broken. Many of Motley and Willis's Browns teammates were familiar with playing alongside black players from their college days, where teams were often integrated. The presence of Motley and Willis also drew large crowds, including many black fans, to Browns games. It's estimated that around 10,000 black fans attended the Browns' first game. Motley's incredible talent and size helped the Browns win the NFL championship in their first season in the league in 1950. In October of that year, he set an NFL record that would stand for 52 years by averaging over 17 yards per rush against the Pittsburgh Steelers, gaining 188 yards on just 11 carries. He also scored a 69-yard rushing touchdown and a 33-yard receiving touchdown in that game. Even though Motley didn't play in the Browns' championship game win against the Los Angeles Rams, he led the league in rushing with 810 yards that season and was a unanimous first-team All-Pro selection. By the 1951 season, the toll of his hard-hitting playing style started to affect Motley. He was 31 years old at the time and struggled with a knee injury that season, rushing for just 273 yards and one touchdown, his lowest totals. Despite these challenges, the Browns made it to the championship game again, but lost to the Rams 27-17, and Motley had just 5 carries for 23 yards. In 1952, Motley's knee problems continued. He showed flashes of his former brilliance, but was clearly no longer at his peak. He finished the year with 444 rushing yards, a career low, and despite a strong season for the team overall, the Browns lost in the championship game to the Detroit Lions 17-7. The 1953 season was similar for Motley. His injuries limited his effectiveness, and the Browns, despite another impressive 11-1 record, again lost to the Lions in the championship game. With his production declining, the team relied more on Otto Graham's passing game. Motley hoped to return for a 9th season in 1954, but at 34 and with persistent injuries, Paul Brown suggested he would be cut from the team if he didn't retire, and so Motley decided to step away from the game. Paul Brown praised him, saying, "Marion realized that his knee was weak and didn't feel that it was coming around. He was one of the truly fine fullbacks in his prime, the type that comes along once in a lifetime. I certainly never will forget some of his run." Motley took the 1954 season off, but tried to make a comeback in 1955 after being traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He played 7 games as a linebacker for the Steelers before being released. Over his 8 years in the AAFC and NFL, Motley accumulated 4,720 rushing yards and averaged 5.7 yards per carry, a career average that remains an all-time record for a running back. His legacy can truly never be matched. In 1968, Motley received one of the highest honors in football when he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame is located in his hometown of Canton, Ohio, and this recognition was a fitting tribute to a remarkable career. Motley had excelled in multiple roles on the field, playing both as a fullback and pass blocker on offense and as a linebacker on defense. This versatility made him one of the most complete and well-rounded players in the history of football itself. Blanton Collier, who was an assistant coach and later took over as Browns' head coach after Paul Brown was fired in 1963, praised Motley's skills, saying he had no equal as a blocker. He could run with anybody for 30 yards or so, and this man was a great linebacker. Motley was known for his powerful running style, often using trap plays to break through defenses, but he also had the speed to run around the edges when needed. Reflecting on his career, he once mentioned, "There's no telling how much yardage I might have made if I ran as much as some backs do now." Although running back Jim Brown came along in the early 1960s and broke many of Motley's rushing records, many of Motley's coaches and fellow players still considered him to be an exceptional player, particularly for his blocking prowess. Otto Graham, a legendary quarterback and coach, once said at a luncheon in Canton in 1964, "There's no comparison between Jim Brown and Marion Motley." Motley was the greatest all-around fullback. Football writer Paul Zimmerman, known for his books The Thinking Man's Guide to Pro Football and The New Thinking Man's Guide to Pro Football, even went so far as to call Motley the best player in the history of the sport. In 1994, Motley was named to the NFL's 75th anniversary all-time team, a testament to his enduring impact on the game. And in November 2019, he was selected as one of the 12 running backs on the NFL 100 all-time team, further solidifying his place among the all-time greats of football. That's it for this one, but if you happen to like NFL legends, make sure to check out our latest videos about Ernie Davis on our channel NFL Icons. I'm sure you'll love it.